So, okay, voice is captured now. Let me share my screen. Okay, please confirm you can see my screen. Please confirm that you guys can see my screen. David, it's not showing at your own side. Is it showing a desktop view now? Lola, can you see the screen? Multiple now. This is my screen. Can you see it? David, can you see it? Ima, can you see my screen? Ima, okay. What of now, David? Is it good? Okay, I'm okay. So today we're going to be discussing data types in that. Like I said earlier, we can't just jump straight into Flutter. We need to know the programming language first so that we can understand how Flutter works. And by extension, we will start with that. So just a quick question, Lola, Ima, and Dave. How many of you went through the video I shared earlier, earlier in the week? Okay, and the last person, David. I don't understand. Glancing through a video, what does that mean? You zoomed through it. Still have no idea what that means, but no problem. No problem. You zoomed through a video. Okay, I don't know what that means. So, okay, like I said that other time, everything is on your feet. Oh. If you glance through, watch it or whatever, everything still falls on your feet. I'm sure you guys have seen the movie Matrix. In this case, I am Morpheus and you people are Neo. I'm the one that will show you the door. You are the one that is going to walk through it. So if I share something, either you do it or you don't do it, it's still on you. I have done my part. So starting off, we're going to open our code editor. Of course, I try to open it from here. Basically, it's restricted mode. Yeah. Okay, so this is our code editor here. I have basically two that I make use of, either VS Code or Cursor. But both of them are practically the same thing. So let me close this one and open a trusted one. Okay, here we are, trusted. I'm not adding any folder, you should leave me alone. Okay, now over here I have my code editor, which is VS Code at this particular moment. So there's one thing that you should know about files, first of all, in general sense. The extension of a file is what tells your computer or code editor the kind of file it is. Example, this is not supposed to be our class, but yeah. Let me open show file name extensions. You can see over here PNG tells me that it's an image. TXT is a text document. XLSX it's an Excel file, and so on. Now the reason why I am telling you this is that, first of all, in order for you to program in that or Flutter, you need to create a file with the extension .dat. So this is it over here. So file, new file. Let's type in the name. Let's call it class v1.start and hit enter. You can see it over here. Let me put it in this my folder here. Let's call it v2 instead. Okay, let's call it class 1. You can see my extension over here. That's to tell my compiler that it is a dat file. For Python it is py, for JavaScript is js. I think for TypeScript it's ts, and so on. Now if you do not add this extension, it's not going to read it. It's actually a dat file. You're trying to code in that. So we hit create over here. Let me take this guy away. Now you can see class1.dat. Now you can see this dat icon over here. Now let me create another file here. Let's just say another file. Let's not add any extension and create. You can see that there is no unique icon. This is just a generic file icon. So let's go for a new file and let's type, okay, Python file, and let's give it the extension of py. You can see it here. This will tell you that when you're creating your files, it is very important for you to add the extension. And speaking of extensions, did you guys download these extensions? I don't remember telling you guys about it for your VS Code. Your Flutter extension here, these two, they come together, sure. If you download one, the other comes, but you still have to confirm that extension, Flutter extension, and there is one other one again. Yeah, awesome Flutter snippets. Just a quick one. Who is in this, or who amongst you are in this class with their laptop? Just raise your hand up. Okay, so it's only Ima. How come David yours is up twice? Okay, So as I'm doing mine, please confirm from your own side that you also have these extensions installed because it will help you a lot while doing your Flutter and Dart programming. Okay. Yeah. So let's get it started. So over here, I have created my Dart file here, which enables us to program in the Dart language. And for today's class, we'll be talking about data types. Okay, now, so what are data types, you may ask? A data type is simply the structure of a particular data. Now, there are multiple data types that we have. We have our integer, boolean, string, map, list. Yeah, those are the major data types. And of course, we have our null as a data type. We're going to take each of them one by one and explain their use cases. So the first one that we're going to be talking about is our integer. This is it over here. And our integer simply refers to whole numbers. That is, you have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what your integer is. Next one we're going to go for is double. Our double refers to decimal numbers. You have your 1.2, 3.4, 5.0. Next one we'll talk about is our string data type. Now, string refers to a sequence of characters. Example, hello. It's VS Code. Okay. But you've already installed all those things prior to today's class now. Mhm. Okay. We have our integer, which is whole numbers. We have our double, which refers to decimal numbers. 1.2, the examples are there. And we have our string, which refers to a sequence of characters. We have our list, and our list refers to a collection to a collection of data, and we have it like this is denoted with a square bracket where you can have 1 comma, you can have hello, and you can have something else. Now we have our map. In some programming languages it is called a dictionary, and other programming languages it is called an object, but they all mean the same thing. Now, a map refers to a collection of key value pairs. Now, what that means is that your map, unlike the rest of them that can be singular values like one or a word such as hello. Now, map has a key value pairing. Now, in this map over here, this is the key. Name is the key, and John is the value of this key called name. At this particular point, I'm just explaining each of them. When we get into using them, you'll understand the relationship of a key and the value. The next one we have is a Boolean. And our Boolean refers to a value that can be either true or false. It doesn't go beyond that. It's either something is alive or it is dead. Either in binary, either it is 1 or 0. That is what our Boolean here represents. It's either one or the other. And we have our null, and our null refers to the absence of any value. Let's leave it like this, of any value. And we're going to see how to declare each of these data types, how to assign data to them, and how to manipulate the data for each data type. So far, do we have any questions? David and Emma. Yeah, Emma, I can hear you. It's because nobody was answering when I called out between you and David. I had to switch up to see whether you guys were on the call. You are on the call. I've not heard from David. David, can you hear me? Okay. So let's start. So we'll go with the first one, integer. Now in that programming language, there is a sequence in declaring a variable and assigning that variable a value. Now you would ask yourself, what is a variable? A variable is a holder of information. That is simply what a variable is. And a variable must have a name so that we can reference that variable. Number two thing, a variable must have a data type attached to that variable so that the compiler can know what to do with that variable. Some programming languages are not strictly typed. That is strictly typed to a large extent. What I mean by strictly typed is that it requires you to declare the data type of the variable that you're declaring. Okay, so enough of the talking. Let's get down into it. So in that, this is how you declare your variable. The first thing you would do is put in the data type. Now, for this particular scenario, we are going for integer. So let me just put it like this. Declaration is int. For double, your declaration for your double is declaration for double is double. for string, declaration for string is string for a list. It is list. And for a map, it is map. For a boolean, it is bool. Meanwhile, for null, it is not null, it is a question mark of that particular data type. We'll get to it. So now we want to declare a variable. The first thing that we're going to do is give it a data type. So now the first one is our integer. And we see that the declaration over here is int. So we put in int first of all. Then we go for the name of the variable. Name of variable. Then we do an equal to sign and we give it the value. So this is it. Now we have declared a variable here. Now, when there are conventions to writing a variable name, and we have basically two school of thoughts over here, uh, naming conventions of variables. The first one is we have our camel case, and the other one is snake case. Please, are you guys following? David and Emma. Please, I don't need to call you guys names individually before I get a response, please. Okay, now for our camel case, it starts with the small letter of that variable name. What I did over here is camel case. Small letter, then the next word, if there is a next word, is followed by a capital letter, the end of the word, and if there's another word, follows by a capital letter. So basically, our camel case uses the initial of any other word must be a capital letter. Meanwhile, the first word, the initial, is a small letter. So we'll have here camel case. Now we can do the same thing over here and do it like this, and this is snake case. Now the difference here is this underscore to differentiate each section or each word of that variable. Okay, now that we have established naming conventions for variables, now we can go into declaring other data types. Now we have double over here, another variable 2.7. Now this is our double. Now we can go to our string over here, my name, now this is a string. Now we can go for a list. You can see the list over here. Now we can go for a map, my map. This is a map. Now we can go for a boolean, bully. True. Now, null. Remember what I said about null? Now, you can't do it like this, then do null. It's going to throw up an error for you. And you also can't do it like this, string, and you declare it null. It's not going to work. What you can do to declare a variable as null is to put a question mark here. Now this value here is a null value. But we're going to come back to this one. This is a bit tricky for beginners. But it is nice to know that, yes, this is how you can make a value null. Now, let's take a look at each of these data types and their declarations over here. Now, we have our integer here, which you can see is a single whole number digit. Integer also a single whole number digit. Now, for your double here, you can see that it is 2 point something. Now, for my string, you can see that it is covered in double quotes. It's covered in quotes. Now for your string, there are two ways in which you can declare a string. Either you do it in double quotes or single quotes. So now let me put it in single quotes. Now you can see that it still goes. But now the difference between the double quotes and the single quotes is that, let's say you are trying to write a string that has a quote inside of it. For example, now, let's say you want to write this sentence. She said his name is the wind, and wind is in quotes. If you put it like this, let me duplicate this. Said his name is the, you can see that it throws up an error over here, because that, using single quotes, that doesn't allow this. Using multiple quotes in here, there's a way you can bypass this, and it's by using double quotes here. So if we just change the beginning and end of these strings, you can see that now it allows it at home, so that you can see it now. You can see it over here. Is this clear? Okay, okay. Now we're going to move over to list here. Now, as we said earlier, a list refers to a collection of data. Please notice how the structure of each of these data type is being formulated. Your numbers, which are integers and doubles, you can just put your numbers. But now your string has to have a beginning and closing quotes. Your list has to have a beginning opening bracket and a closing bracket with the values in between. Now you can see a list refers to a collection of data. Now all these inside the list is or are the collect, or rather they are the collection inside this list here. So let's go again. And we have our map, and we declared our map to be a collection of key value pairs. So now let's start with name is the key. Let's give it James. Let's add another key value pair. Now the thing with a list and a map is that they can hold multiple values. Now your map over here, you can go with age 34. And one other thing that you should note about your list and your map is that they can hold multiple data types. Now, over in my list here, I have 1, 2, which are integers. I can add um, and some, which is a string. I can add a map here. I can add a boolean here. You can see now that this holds multiple data types. Now, for my map here, you can see now this is a string, this is an integer. Latitude, let's see, latitude. This is a double. But now remember, the difference between a list and a map, even though both of them are collections of data, is that your list uses index position for the data structure 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Meanwhile, your map uses a key value pair. This is the key, this is the value. This is the key, this is the value. This is the key, and this is the value. Now, coming over to our Boolean is straightforward. It's either your Boolean value is a true value or it's a false value. There are no in between. Now, coming over to our null, let's name this null value. You can see that for a null value, it doesn't have its quote unquote declared data type name. No, a variable can only have data type of null when it doesn't have a value. Now, we've declared our variable null value to be a string. But now, how do we now pass empty, or how do we now remove value from this variable? It's by putting a question mark at the end of our declared data type and assigning it null here. Now, if we delete this, we can do it like this or like this. Both of them will fly. Questions? String question mark equals to null like this. No, you can't do it now. Like I explained, like I explained earlier, when you're declaring a variable, you have three parts of your variable, which is your data type, your variable name, and the value that you are assigning that variable to. Over here, we have our data type, we have our variable name, and we have the value assigned. Now, since this one is an empty value, it can allow us to remove assigning empty to empty. Okay, I'm just going to leave it like this. It's going to be easier for you guys to comprehend it like this. Yeah, I'll not be doing short form. I think you guys will have to learn short form of each of the coding by yourself so that you won't get confused. Okay. So yeah, so this is so basically these are the data types that you will be making use of. Oh, and there's one thing in that and in Flutter, everything is a class. Let me just put it out there. I'm going to explain that the further we go. Okay, now over here we're going to touch on each of these data type and their special abilities. Of course, we know that a number and a string operates at different levels. And what this means is that you can add a number or you can add numbers, but you cannot add strings in the sense of it. You can do 1 plus 1 equals 2, but you can't do David plus Opongu equals something else. Even though there's something called string concatenation, but you get the idea. Okay, a better one is for numbers, you can do mathematical operations on them, but for strings, you cannot do mathematical operations on them. For lists, you can do index operations on it, but on map, you can't do index operations on it. What I'm saying in essence is that each of these data types have rules and operations that govern them and their usage. So let's start with, and in order for us to see these things in action properly, we'll have to create a function. At this particular point, I'm just going to breeze through on what a function is. A function is a segment in your programming, in your program that tells the compiler what to do. Yeah, you can have a bunch. Someone keeps popping in and out. Emma, you raised your hand. Yes, it is recorded. Okay, and like I said, a function is a segment in your program that tells the compiler what to do or tells your program what to do. Yeah, you can declare all these data types and give it values, but if there is no function to make use of these variables, then nothing. Then they're as good as useless. Now, for your DAT programming, there's something called an entry point. Your entry point is simply the beginning of your program. Just like how we have houses. In order for you to enter a gated house, you must first pass through the gate. Now, in that, we have a gate, and it's our main function. It's our first function, and it's called our main function. Let's void main. This is it here. This is our entry point here. Now, if this function is not in your dat file, the beginning point of your dat file, if it's not at the entry point of your dat file, then your dat program will not run. Okay, so let me open my terminal over here and it's already pointing to the machine. Why is it pointing? It's supposed to point. Okay, let me just open it over here, V2 and CMD here. Okay, ideally this is supposed to, let's see, that's output and there. Let me see if I can CD into this CD desktop. Okay, one machine. Oh, I didn't put the P. Okay, I'm going to CD into, let me just put this side by side. Why did it suddenly disappear? Let me just hit run here. Okay, I'm just going to use this run over here because ideally I should be able to CD here. My terminal just disappeared for some reason. But over here, I can, since I'm already here, what's the name of this, my file here? It's called class one dot. Okay, so let's say that run class, I think it's ampersand for space, one dot dot. Okay, yeah. So yeah, let me just put a print statement in here to show that this works. Hello people, I am running now. So if I hit this same command again, you can see it here. Hello people, I am running now. Now I just ran my first that code. Or alternatively, you can be on VS Code and just use this run over here. And it shows up in your debug console. Hello people, I am running now. And great to see you. Hit run again and you can see it has updated. So this is the first function that will always be called from the entry point of your dat file. Okay, now over here we're going to touch on some of the functions of each of these data types. So now let me give this name of variable a good value, which is 10. Let me give this one 55. Yeah, for debugging purpose, you have your print statement here in which you can print things to your console here. So for now, we'll be using this print statement to show the proof of what we are doing, if it works or not. So now over here, we're going to print out, let's say, name of variable. Now, if you want to see the available functions of a data type, all you have to do is put the variable name and do dot. Then you'll see the list of available functions you can do on that particular variable. Now we can see that we have is even, is odd, is negative. Now you can see several of these over here. Each of these properties do a unique thing to that particular variable. Now, for example, now, if I'm to ask you guys now, this name of variable over here, How do you determine that the value is an even number? Let's start with David. I wait, why are you adding plus one? So how will you know that it's an odd number for you to add plus one? But why are you assuming? Okay, David, I write a number and give it to you, and I tell you, show me that this number is an even number. How will you do it? Okay, if what is equal to zero, Abi? So basically what you're saying is that, oh, for us to determine that a number is an even number, it must be divisible by 2 with the remainder as 0, Abi? Okay. Now, mathematically speaking now, that is a long method because you first of all have to divide, then you have to check the value of the remainder, Abi? But now, data types come with pre-built functions that allows you to do things that are common to that function. For example, now we want to find out if this name of variable is an even number. Normally you're saying that, okay, let's do name of variable divided by 2, Abi? Then divided by 2, let's put it like this. Let's put it, let's give this a double remainder name of variable divided by 2. Then once we get our remainder there, they will not do that. We'll not check remainder. Is remainder greater than 0, Abi? Then not check, if remainder is greater than 0, then it is even number, or rather it is odd number. But if it is not, then it is even number, Abi? That's the whole process for getting whether a number is an even number or not. You would have to write a bunch of lines. Now, there are simple or pre-built methods attached to data types. Now, I can just do that name of variable dot is even and run it here. And returns true for me. It returns a boolean. Just like I told you what a boolean is. It's either it is true or false. It doesn't need any plenty grammar. So this is even tells me if this number here is true or false. Simple. Same thing with is odd. Run it. Returns false. That this number is not an odd number. But if I put this name of variable over here that says that it is actually an odd number, if I run it now, you'll see that it returns, yeah, true, that this number is an odd number. So in other words, this pre-built method attached has just saved us lots of coding time and lots of headache. And that's why I said most of the work will be done by you guys. I will just show you the structure or I will show you the door. You are the one that will walk through it. Because I assure you, nobody is going to go through. Let me just show you them. These are all of them. Uh, Look at it. Each of these ones over here, you can see the data type that it returns. Integer, boolean, boolean, int, bool, 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 bool. You can see the data type here. Now, if you come down further, each of these methods here, you can see their data type that they return back to you. You can see it, Abi. I explained it earlier now because it's either when they ask you if a number is an even number, do you give a long explanation or not? They ask you, is this number an even number? What is usually your response? Which one is even? David, I walk up to you and I gave you, oh, is number four an even number? What is your response? It's a closed question and your response is either yes or no. Your response always falls between yes or no. It's either it's an even number or it's not an even number. There's no explanation. There's no additional context. Either it is or it is not. Same way, I can ask you, is your laptop HP? What will be your answer? It's simple. Yes or yes, it is HP. No, it is not HP. It does not go beyond that. So same thing with this method over here. You're asking if this number is an even number. So it doesn't need to return plenty grammar for you because grammar is not necessary. It's either it's an even number or it's an odd number and case closed. Yeah. So when you go further, you should always take note of the return type for all these over here. Some of them are int, some are boolean, some are string. So depending on what, yeah, this over here is a string. So depending on what you are trying to do, yeah, you should always make references to this. Because sometimes you will think that, I'm trying to do this thing, so let me code it from scratch. I assure you, there is most times than not, there's already a pre-built method attached that does that thing for that data type. So we've seen this one here, if it's an even number or odd number. And just like I said, look at everything here. I can't go through each of these things one by one. I'll just give you summary of one or two. You're the one that over your own practice and application, you'll find out what each of these things they do. So I can't be going through, and this is just only for integer. Look at all the things attached. Now imagine doing that for double, doing that for string, doing that for list, doing that for map, doing that for bool. So again, most of the work will fall on your legs or on your hands, whichever one you want to put it. Okay, now as we know, our number data type uses arithmetic methods. You can do arithmetic functions on them. So now let's say name of variable, you can do plus, let's say 60 and run it. You can see it has given us the result here. Added these two together. Now there's one thing that I failed to mention earlier regarding double. Now let's say another double. You can see here, I put 2 here, but I declared it here as double, but I put 2 here. Now you can see that this 2 here and this 10 They are similar in terms of structure, but it is not throwing up an error for me just putting 2 here under a double. That's because once you declare a variable as a double, if you put a whole number here, it automatically adds dot zero at the back. So let's do our print here of another double. Let's run it. You can see here 2.0. Now let's do name of variable. You can see here name of variable is just 55. It did not add dot zero because over here the data type is an integer. Meanwhile, this other data type here is a double. That was why the point zero was added to the 2 here. Meanwhile, the 55 did not have the point zero attached. Now, we can, when doing arithmetic functions on integers and doubles, there is something that usually happens here. Now let's say name of variable plus, let's say, another double. Okay, so this will be a question out there. We have this name of variable, which is an integer, and we have another. In fact, let me put, okay, this, I'm going to introduce you guys to another method again, which will be useful. Result. And we're going to put this results here. We're going to print out our results. Now, the question is, oh, var, okay, let me add this var data type here. I think I missed that. Var. So var, var is a keyword, okay, yeah, used to denote a variable that you do, okay, I spelled variable wrong. Denote a variable that you do not know the data type. And this is how you declare it. Declaration is var, and you declare it like var my unknown. Now, what this var does is that it allows you to assign any data type to that particular variable. Now, var means here, means variable. You can just assign anything. Now, you can see I put 4 here. I can put double here. I can put list here. I can put map here. I can put null here. I can put boolean here. It allows. But these ones that I have strictly typed is that it is double. If I go and put string here, it's going to throw up an error. So this var here allows you to accept any data type or any value in here. Now I'm going to show you guys a trick for you to check out the data type of a variable. Now, but before we come to that, we have our name of variable here, which is an integer, and we have another double here, which is a double data type. And we want to add these two together. If we add these two together, it's going to give us a value, Abi. Now, which data type will be that value? Is it going to be an integer data type or is it going to be a double data type? Lola? Okay. David? Ima, Ima. Ah, okay. So Lola, why is your answer a double? Look at what I am doing here. I am adding these two together. Uh-huh. So the result, name of variable. Okay, so I have my data type here as integer and I have my data type here as double. If I add these two together now, the result, what will be the data type? You said integer, Abi. So why are you picking integer as the result? Okay, your result will not have a decimal. Okay, David, what of you? 'Okay, so let me ask both of you now. I give you two numbers and I tell you, okay, add 2 plus 4.0. What will be the result? 6.0, Abi. David, what of it? Your own is just 6, Abi. Okay. What did I say earlier about doubles? Even if you do not put a decimal place, the decimal place will always be there. Now, let's hit run here. Now you can see our result is 57.0, which means our result is a double. It's not an integer, it's a double. So the trick that I wanted to show you guys is how to check the data type of a variable. And it's called runtime type. This is it here. Now if I hit run here, you will see that it's double. Let me put this in quotes. Don't worry, what I'm about to do will come to it. Runtime type of, let me hit it again. You can see it's double. Now let me remove this. Let me put this null value here. Let me hit run again. You can see that the type is null. So this particular method is good when you are not sure about the data type of the value that you are receiving. And let me show you guys why this result has data type of double. The reason is that you have your integer here that wants to go and meet with a double. Remember, a double always has a decimal place, even if it is not visible. If you assign 5 to a double variable, it is 5.0. So if you take 5.0 plus 2, that is an integer, your result will be 7.0, which is a double. 7.0 and 7 are two different data types in programming. Please take note of that. And with that, we end today's class. The next class we're going to touch on doubles. We're going to touch on passing. Passing, which basically means conversion from one data type to another. We're going to be passing an int to a double, and we're going to be passing from a double to an int. Basically, we are going to convert an int data type to a double, and we are going to convert a double to an integer. Then we are going to touch on strings, touch on lists, touch on strings and touch on lists. Then for the upper class, we're going to touch on map. Then after touching on map, we're going to move over to creating functions. So yeah, questions? Questions, people, questions. Questions or questions. Questions going one. Questions going two. You watch today's class. Share your screen. I think going forward, it will be advisable for you to use your system to attend so that instead of describing the problem, you can just easily share your screen and I can see directly what you're talking about. So your question is, how do you know if Flutter is installed on your... Yeah, it's open like that because you decided to run it on Chrome. Did you select the device that you wanted to run it to? I'm guessing you did not. So let me just show you. This is a project I am on. Now, bottom right over here, you will see devices here. This is my phone attached. This is the Chrome that you talked about here. This is Edge again. Remember our first class where I talked about Flutter being for multi-platforms, which you can create web apps, mobile application, and desktop app. Yeah, it's open in Chrome. It was using the web app version of whatever it is that you're building. If you select a mobile phone, it's going to build for that mobile phone. So that's where your issue is. Did you plug any device or anything before running? Yeah, so that's it. It's going to run it on whatever it is that is available there, which was Chrome. Okay, questions going for questions going five. So yeah, in the absence of questions, yeah, we're done for today's class. See you tomorrow, and please, as always, come on time. Bye.